Warrior Mindset Podcast. We are your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Well, hello there.
Hello.
I wish we'd have had some of that recording before we started, man. That's fine.
Oh, that's all right. It's fine. It's better to live in the moment than have it on tape.
I think you definitely do that, man.
I do now. I honestly, last time we went on vacation in Florida, I took like no photos because I just wanted to be there with my kids.
I'm the same way. My wife gets mad at me because I don't take photos.
Hey,
I'm like, I don't want to see my vacation through the lens of my camera.
Exactly. Like there's only one time. Yes, there's only one time I've done that where, like, you know what, I have to do this. It was a Metallica concert last November. We went to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I wanted my wife to just enjoy it. I've gotten my wife two things in our relationship that have made her happy cry. The first one was our engagement ring. The second one was the Metallica tickets.
Wow.
And so I filmed like the whole concert on the phone, and like I got to watch it. It's cool. I love Metallica. I love the freaking show. But like seeing her be so happy was just
That's cool.
Best possible thing. So we actually get a chance to relive that. Selfishly, I kind of need to.
That's cool. That's awesome. So we were just reminiscing. It's been almost a year, I think, since we had you on.
It's so wild.
I don't understand it either, man. Don't worry about it. But what have you been doing since then? I know there's some changes all the way from Grid up to where you're coaching now. So fill me in.
It was like April time frame when we talked, right?
Yeah.
So the shorthand is from that point, on top of coaching in my doctorate and my kids, I picked up. I'm a professor at Kennesaw State University now. I started that last semester. I'm a part-time lifeguard. I save lives, which I'll actually, genuinely speaking, Gene, I'll tell a story. We actually did have a lady die at the pool.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it was a very serious thing. We've had a few occasions because Were
you there?
I was supposed to be, but my shift had changed.
Okay.
With my wife just happened to start that week going into the office 3 times a week. So I had to stay home with the kids. Or with Penelope, my youngest, because the other two were. Or no, it was over this. No, it was in the fall. So my youngest hadn't started preschool yet. Late fall. She started in second semester preschool. But a lady. I was going to be on stand. Actually, I would have been the rescuing lifeguard performing CPR on this woman if I were able to work that day. That would have been my normal shift on a Tuesday at 11:30.
Damn, man.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. Started lifeguarding, the swim coaching as well, teaching KCU, so and so on. A big piece that has just kind of started recently from an occupational standpoint is the swim stuff that I do with the CrossFit Games people. They're just CrossFitters in general.
Right.
That's really picked up to where I'm actually going to be leaving my current swim club that I'm with at the end of March.
Okay.
And starting a CrossFit swim club. Right.
They're in Georgia. They're in Atlanta area.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the idea is to kind of make it a traveling entity.
Okay.
Because from what I understand, and I'm probably gonna step on toes by saying this, but I really don't care because this is honestly just voices or words that have been said to me from people. I'm being sought out personally by people worldwide in the CrossFit community for swimming, because a lot of the people that I've worked with have done really well at the games in their swim events, and I'm not trying to sound conceited. I'm quoting people.
Yeah.
Well, maybe paraphrasing because I'm not doing this crap yet. But I'm not gonna take full credit for it because the elite level CrossFit athlete, they're remarkably adaptable.
Right.
Like right
That's
now,
the whole point.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Yes. Right now I'm working with the training think tank people again, and then a few others like Lauren Fisher, Griffin Raleigh, Alexis Raptise, or just to name a few that are
Wow.
in the pool with me. And over the summer, last summer, it was with Noah, Travis, and Noah Olson, Travis Mayer, my Goldricks, Brady and Mike, Mia Gianelli, Alessandro Pacelli, and I'm that's enough name dropping,
That's
but
a big list.
you get the idea.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's taken off, and specifically the training think tank team last games, they finished the swim event, and they were one of a small handful of teams that had all 4 athletes finish, and
Okay.
also was one of like 2 or 3 teams that had all 4 athletes finish, and none of them were former swimmers.
That's impressive.
It honestly was, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It happened to be a short course yards pool, and we spent like an hour practicing diving in the water for 4 weeks. Every session for 4 weeks. But that's kind of the biggest change right now, I would say. That's like the super fast track version of what's going on. But
that's cool
from a life standpoint. Yeah, man.
So what are you doing? Good. What are you doing at Kennesaw?
Right now, I'm getting I'm finishing up my 1 year of experience of teaching in order to get into like the research labs and whatnot. Right. I'm doing beginning swimming, weightlifting, advanced weightlifting, aerobic conditioning, advanced aerobic conditioning.
Wow.
And walk, jog. Hey, this guy, a 300-pound man, is teaching 4th and 5th year seniors who only need a 1 credit hour class, so they don't show up anyway, to walk, jog. This nonsense.
That's a big slate, though, man. That's like a full-time job, I guess.
It's part-time because those are all 1 credit hour classes.
Still, I guess you don't teach them all in one day.
No, just two every other day. Mm-hmm. But I also started coaching the Kennesaw State University Masters Swim Program. Which is, it's just 4 people right now, but we're gonna grow it pretty well. Like the CrossFit stuff is gonna start getting integrated with that as well. And there's a lot of stuff branching off of each other, if you will. Like it's a big spider web of development.
That's how it works, man. I mean, that's how it works.
It's pretty cool. There's been a lot of other little things. I don't know how deep you want me to go personally in the year that has passed.
It's up to you, man.
Well, there have been things that have been really fantastic and things that have been absolutely hellacious.
Okay.
Where do you want me to start?
So the whole purpose of this is just, I put these episodes out when I talk to people about what they're doing, the things they're going through, and how they're overcoming, failures or success. I mean, sometimes, as sometimes being successful and doing things well also brings a level of shit.
Failure's the greatest imaginable thing in my opinion.
Really can. I had a long conversation yesterday with an episode coming out probably before this one, but where we talked about like collateral damage of success, right? So he's very successful, making a lot of money, doing a lot of good business, and then like a year later looked and was like, oh, my wife hates me, because I'm like never here, and and when I'm here, I'm not really here, and she's like, who the fuck are you? Sort of a deal. So even success can have collateral damage, man. So how do you overcome those things? And you're always working. And you're one of the few people I know who continue to work, generally speaking, in the same field that they kind of started out in.
And that's insane to think about because I've never known any different. Like but I see my wife kind of the same deal. Like she got a undergrad degree in kinesiology and then a master's in human resource management. Just because the army put her in a human resources role. Like, as far as I know, she didn't have any human resources background before we got married.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it's. I guess I get it in the fitness industry, right? Because it's kind of hard to sustain a living fully when unless you. Well, maybe that's inappropriate to say. I don't have a lot of empirical backing for that. I should probably have references, but when I say that, I guess I'm speaking more subjectively and anecdotally. Because we're in Bloomington, where Eve and I went to school. Like it was hard to make a living just being in the fitness community because the cost of living in Bloomington, Indiana, is really freaking high. Probably because it's a college town. No, I love that you say that, man. I actually love the conversations that can be had with people debating success over failure or failure over success. And I am a strong advocate of you're the most successful each day if you're failing every day, epically failing every day, because that's what I've done, and I fucking love it. Pardon my French.
No, it's great. I mean, that's why I gravitate towards martial arts so much, because it's like 1,000 little micro failures, and then it builds to like one moment of success, and you don't get there unless you failed like a million little times.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
It's so cool. Is it backwards? Maybe in society's views, like, why is failure so feared? Like, I understand it from like an Eastern culture standpoint, because I've had a lot of conversations with that, but I feel like it's slowly becoming the most acceptable form of success.
Yeah.
Because like you see the bulletin boards with like Abraham Lincoln, when you fail, try again or whatever. I believe that's a direct quote.
I think it is. Abraham Lincoln.
Yes, Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
If she were a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln. If you were an ice cream, you'd be Pre-Lincoln Dick. That's enough quoting.
So what are you doing? You're like we talked last time. You were, and you always have been, I think, since I've known you, but maybe a year or so after that, you've been involved in the Grid.
Yeah.
So what's going on there? So
it's pretty, no pun intended, wild. The team that I coach is the Gainesville Wild.
So you're the head coach, interim head coach for the Gainesville Wild.
Yeah, this season, the owner of the team, he just bought a building last year, and it's been giving him some hassles. So he's doing a really, really good job of I won't say monopolizing Gainesville, Florida in the CrossFit world, but I don't really know how else to term it, because he's really damn good at what he does, and he's very freaking smart. He's had to put so much investment into that facility that he recognizes appropriately that he doesn't have the ability to fulfill the duties of a coach, but he can still fulfill the duties as the owner.
Okay.
So I've been involved in Grid since 2016, back when it was pro. And from my understanding, the Florida Grid League specifically has a bigger following than the National Pro Grid League did back in its peak popularity. I could be wrong. That's more perception than it is like numerical presentation.
Well, the Florida Grid League definitely seems more active.
Yes, I mean it has an international following. South America and Europe specifically are very heavily involved. There's a lot there. I believe there are a couple of people that were close to being recruited, but I do know that there's at least grid leagues that are close to starting up.
Okay.
Internationally. Now, that's, I think, as far as I'm allowed to say, because we have been, as coaches, we have been asked to kind of keep that hush hush ish. Yeah. You can air this, and I'll just take whatever rap if there's a rap there. I don't think there will be, honestly.
No, I don't think
because it's really not that big of a fucking deal.
Yeah.
It's still an amateur sport, so. But our team, our Gainesville Wild team, the past 3 seasons up to this one, 8 or 9 of them are from Texas. One from Arkansas, who's a professional strong woman. Another one from Minnesota, who's a CrossFit Games athlete. And then several other high-level grid athletes back in the day from the Southern Amateur Grid League. And we had 5 to 7 former National Pro Grid League players. And that's not just our team. There are a lot of former National Pro Grid League players still playing.
I love the idea of it, that it's a team. Like you have a team owner, he has a building, you have a team, and you recruit these new members. I mean, it truly, I love CrossFit. I always have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that it's a sport.
So it actually meets the definition of sport better than CrossFit does, and I didn't know that
I think
until
it
recently.
does too. Yeah.
Well, it's measurable, repeatable, and there's no I have to adapt immediately type of deal. That's how it's been explained to me, and I hope that somebody argues what I just said in any comments once this is posted, because I kind of viewed CrossFit as a sport, and kind of Grid as, of course, is a sport too. But diving down deep into the definition of what that term is, it makes more sense as to how CrossFit, I mean, even swimming, can and cannot sometimes be identified as a sport, even though it is always measurable and repeatable. There are concepts. It's not a contact sport, so therefore, is it a sport type of deal?
Right.
That's, I think, more subjective controversy.
It sure felt like a contact sport when I did it. I was sore for a damn month.
I can say this with confidence, man, because I've talked to several swimmers about this, and I think that they would agree when I say it. Swimmers are some of the softest athletes you'll ever meet in your life.
It's because of the water.
Yeah. I mean, from the bone mineral density standpoint, it is lower. But just because a pool is an anti-gravity chamber, right? So technically,
when you say soft, what do you mean?
Afraid of pain.
Oh, like mentally speaking. Okay.
Yeah. It was really shocking. Now, obviously, I'm speaking of the bell curve. I'm not going to include like Michael Phelps. Obviously, Michael Phelps is not going to be in there.
Right.
Ryan Lochte as well. Like, knowing Ryan personally, I know he's not like that.
Yeah. Gold medal level athletes aside. Yes.
Yeah. But like high level collegiate, or maybe even like moderate high level collegiate swimmers. I was a low level collegiate swimmer. I tell people I was swimming in college, but I don't tell them how slow I was because I was fucking slow.
I bet you're still faster than most of us.
Well, maybe if my shoulders can stay intact. But during quarantine, not during quarantine, I was working with Sean Tiemann up at Hoosier Athletic Club. Ebe and my former boss back in the day. You've heard us talk about him.
Yep.
Sean is the strength and conditioning coach for the Indiana University Olympians, the pros. Lily King, Cody Miller, Blake Peroni, Zach Apple, all those guys. Well, Sean, myself, and Kyle Ruth here at Training Think Tank, we were trying to figure out how to make swimming. I think you and I talked about this a little bit, but we were trying to figure out how to make the land training transfer into the water from not like a strength and conditioning standpoint, but like how can we not lose the literal feel for the water on land? So like I had Olympians and world record holders doing the stuff that we were writing.
Okay.
And having the collegiate, they're good collegiate swimmers, don't get me wrong, that were doing it too. And then good high school swimmers. The difference between those levels, granted, quarantine kind of fucked everybody up psychologically.
Yeah.
But there, one workout specifically, and this was the most difficult one we did. It was a 100-foot reverse sled drag up about a 6%, maybe 5% grade hill. Our hill outside of our driveway is pretty steep, but just with a 25-pound plate. 25-pound plate, 100-foot reverse sled drag, 30 seconds rest, hop on the assault bike, 20 calories for time.
Okay.
Rest the full recovery 6 times. A couple of them had to stop after 2 rounds because after an hour they weren't fully recovered. Now, this person, if they listen to this, they know who they are and they know that I'm poking fun at them, and because we joke about it all the time. A brilliant student. Brady Fields is his name, just remarkably intelligent. I think he's the shortest person ever to go under 20 seconds in a 50-yard freestyle. 19. It really is. I think he's 5'7" or 5'7" or 5'8", somewhere around there. And yeah, sorry, Brady, I got to do it. He has, remember the Burger King commercials where the guy's hands were too small to hold the Whopper?
Yeah. Those
are Brady's hands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were too small for his body, so he had to rely so much on his kick. But it was funny. and the rest of them, like a couple of them puked after 4 rounds. Like they couldn't survive the workout, and that was a common thing even on days where it wasn't that intense.
Interesting.
It was surprising because swimming's perceptively hard, right?
Yeah, I always kind of put swimming on a pedestal of being like the ultimate like difficult like and fastest thing to do to get in shape, you know?
Well, it is definitely that. I believe that I think you have to run. What is it? Run 3 times as much as you swim, bike 6 times as much as you swim to equate what you would burn in the water. Obviously, with intensity variations,
right.
Not taking into consideration, but I think it's just like maintaining steady state. I could be wrong. That data may have changed. That was presented to me in like 2005, 2006. So that may have changed since then. But yeah, it was really surprising to see just how soft like the swimmers are. And thinking back on it, dude, I was a wimp. I was a wimp until I started getting into the CrossFit light, honestly.
Yeah.
And then
CrossFit will definitely it'll harden you up. It'll make you tough. I mean,
yeah,
the mental toughness aspect of CrossFit is highly underrated, I think.
Yes, it makes it even more like a lot of people need a community, right, to do it. Well, people like Matt Frazier just are in the basement of his mom and dad's house.
Well, he's an outlier.
I know.
For sure.
Yeah, completely.
He's literally an animal. That's what I find. Like most people that are in my gym and that I coach, they can do CrossFit. Like it can be done. It's the mental part catches up in a class faster than the actual like body breaking down for them.
Yeah,
I find that, and that's kind of where people hit the wall. It's like, I mean, like being completely out of shape aside, that's a different thing. Like, you have other issues, but someone who's moderately in shape, they'll start hitting a workout. And I could tell, like, you just don't like the way it feels.
Yeah.
You gotta push through that pain threshold. I wonder why you think swimmers are the ones that are a sample of ones that kind of hit that wall.
Well, in swimming, you can keep moving. Swimming is kind of like it's almost like the opposite of the Tao Te Ching. Water conforms to its surroundings and moves. Well, you force water to conform to you in the water.
Right.
So like you are the eroding wall or whatever. You're forcing the flow of the river versus the flow of the river just kind of going with it.
Yeah, because you're kind of going through it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like once you find the ability to kind of like manipulate it, it's like if you're doing a light to moderate, I don't know, fighting session or what's the appropriate terminology here?
Sparring, maybe.
Yeah. You're not gonna be gassed. Like you keep going.
Right.
Same thing for swimmers. Like I can tread water, Gene, for probably 5, 6, 7 hours if I had to.
Right.
And I'd get a little tired at the end of it, but I would be. I know how to figure out how to feel the water and manipulate it to where it's not going to be that exerting. So once swimmers reach that point, you put them on an assault bike or a rower where you can't really do that.
Right.
You have to keep moving.
Right.
And also, if we have to talk about like bone structure, and overall like musculoskeletal system in general, they are going to be like anything that's bounding and burpees, load-bearing stuff is going to hurt more.
Yeah.
Because in theory, they're not going to be as capable to hold that stuff on their body. Or
that makes sense.
They don't want to sink.
Well, it's that adaptability thing that we're talking about with CrossFit. Like that is also one of the things I love most about CrossFit is that it teaches you to be adaptable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole point, unknown and unknowable, I guess. But yeah, maybe the swimmers, they are adapted to that water and you put them on an assault bike and it's like, this ain't the water.
Yeah. I don't understand. What do I do with this air?
Yeah.
What is this?
What's happening right now? Yeah. I have to use my legs and my arms? What the fuck?
I thought I knew how to do that.
Yeah, you did not. You failed.
No. Yeah. Good.
What sort of I'm interested in your life coaching higher level athletes and the differences between that and like a not a higher level athlete?
Oh,
You know, like where does the mental toughness aspect come into play?
honestly, man,
I mean, you drop Matt
let's see.
Frazier's name. I know you don't coach him, but you drop Matt
Uh,
Frazier's name. Like, it doesn't seem like that guy needs a lot of mental toughness coaching.
no,
I mean,
so what I've come, all right, I see. Okay. Um, I have a path that I can choose to go down here, and I'm going to take it because it's honestly been something that's been the only battle of mine with the highest level. The highest level, their expectations are so high.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
you're coaching fellas like Noah Olson. I mean, he's in the hunt, man. He wants to win.
Thankfully, Noah had a remarkable transition a few years back psychologically. He's like, I don't think I've ever seen that dude be sad, other than like after the games a couple years ago, and
Hmm.
when his dog was sick a while back, and
Hmm.
general like
Right,
emotional
like
things.
life things.
He has an incredible ability to just love life,
Hmm.
and it's really impressive. But the honestly, Gene, the struggle. I'm not even term it as a term it as struggle. Um, because I treat those guys in the water very similar to how I would treat a child
Hmm.
learning to swim. The difference is I can have a conversation because they're adults, and
Sure.
I can make dick jokes because they're
Right.
adults. Uh, um, man, that's a really good question. I don't fully know how to answer that.
It's okay.
I'm failing, and that's success. Uh,
Hey.
uh, my goal a lot of times with them. All right, I'll tell you. I'll quote Lauren Fisher the other day. Wednesday. We meet Wednesdays 1 to 3, and she's been to the games 4,000 times.
Yeah, at least a dozen
Um,
times. Yeah.
yeah, and she said to me that the swimming that we do in her long ass career, she's never experienced before,
Mm-hmm.
and she feels like she can literally feel the water and move it. How in because she's gone to a lot. I'm not talking shit about the coaches she's had.
Right, of course.
She's had a lot of those coaches. So like, where's the difference there?
Hmm.
It's how it's the approach with them is trying to get them to say, hey, almost like Jim and Pam from The Office when they're making fun of like, hey Jim, I hear you, I love you, but I don't like that type of
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Well, that type of talk, Gene, actually works really effectively.
Hmm.
And I've been trying to put into practice with tactfully, not silly and
Mm-hmm.
indirect like that, but metaphorically, or in my mind, it's literally, I'm saying, hey man, I recognize that you're wired completely different.
Yeah.
I will never have the mental state you will have when it comes to sport. I can see you're having some degree of mental anguish and pain. I'm going to help you cope with this. So I'm going to lower your expectations by telling you
Mm.
because they always talk shit about themselves when it comes to swimming. And my response to them is, yeah, it is bad. You're not a swimmer.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to treat you like a swimmer. And it's a strange occurrence because it almost, from my perspective, brings comfort.
Well,
So,
that's what I was getting at. You don't have to coach motivation
yeah.
necessarily. I mean, they're self-motivated.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to provide inspiration. I mean, they're trying to go to the games. They're gonna be there, every time because they want to be there. Like that's usually in my world, those three things are the things that I'm most commonly working on with someone,
Yeah.
But and I think I constantly think like, wow, what's gonna happen when I get that one person that's like they got those,
They're going to recognize that they don't know everything,
Yeah.
that you are the expert in your field, and they will listen intently.
Yeah. That's a good cue.
That is honestly the most impressive thing.
Mm.
I'm an ogre, man. I'm a big ass Shrek working with a bunch of Arnold Schwarzeneggers and chiseled up hot people. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. I've said it to their face. It's fine. I've hit on Noah to his face.
Yeah.
It's fine. Uh, but no, that whole concept of what was it? I just had it. All right, say what you said one more time. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about like you don't have to coach these basic. I don't mean to say basic, but you don't have to coach these things like inspiration, motivation. You're not necessarily coaching mental toughness. You're not inspiring them. They have all those. They're coming to you for a specific thing.
Oh, yes, that's it. That's it. Yes.
You kind of fast forward past that stuff.
Yeah, you don't even have to worry about it. The only times when I've had to worry about it has been like when I'm working with the teenage kids, the CrossFit teenage kids. Like, there's a couple like, hey man, like we need to. I'm not your coach, and I recognize that. And when I say I'm not their coach, I'm not their CrossFit coach.
Right.
Like Max L. Hodge is their coach. Kyle Ruth, Adam Rogers, Brandon Dorman, etc.
Right.
Okay. When I see an opportunity that, this homie's going to harm themselves psychologically, I'm going to jump in.
Right.
Because at that point in time, when I'm recognizing that, I've already established a relationship with them. Because there's always a fun opportunity to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
There's always a fun opportunity with anybody. Everybody, Gene, you've seen it all the time. Everybody reverts to that, like, I can't see the forest for the trees because I'm having a bad day. In come devil's advocate. Hey man, how you doing? I'm doing terrible. I wasn't able to bend down and touch my toes.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right. That's okay. Why do you need to bend down and touch your toes? That demographic.
Oh yeah.
Is it really that important? Yes, it is. Well, why? Because of this. I don't believe you. Show me.
Yeah.
And then it just makes people think. Like I did that a few years back with Chandler. Oh crap. He's in the Army, CrossFit Games athlete, big black dude.
Chandler Smith.
Thank you, Chandler Smith. At TFX, the Fitness Experience, the Fitness Games years ago. He was really pissed off that he won the whole thing, but he didn't like how he won. Because
like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So you have an opportunity like, well, what's wrong with just taking the win today, man?
Yeah.
So that's honestly the only downside to working with that level, is because that I encounter a lot.
Right.
And it's a fun, it's now a fun game for me, selfishly speaking.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, opportunity to be an asshole.
Yeah. I can see it, man. It's just it's an interesting perspective, I guess, your athletes have. It's like this, everybody's on this pursuit for perfection, and we all know it's an unattainable goal, it's an honorable thing, but like, as far as the CrossFit world, Chandler Smith is a lot farther down the chain of perfection than I am. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like he's just done a lot more. And it's just an interesting level to be working with people on. And, from a personal standpoint, it's one of those things where, I'm sure, or I'd be interested to get your thoughts on, like, at some point you had to be like looking at these guys and gals and being like, do I have the chops to teach them how to do the things they need to do? And
100%, man.
And the only way I'll know is to like watch the games on YouTube whenever it's live and be like, well, I guess I did it, or well, maybe I should have thought of a little bit differently.
Well, so thankfully that was a big fear early on.
Well, fuck yeah.
But thankfully I wasn't alone.
Dude, the first time you told us you were working with Noah, we watched the games and they did that big, I think it was the board swimming or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was the run, swim, paddle.
Everyone in the gym was like watching that event. We were like sitting there, we're like, that's the goddamn coach. He better fucking win. Like, that's just us being stupid here in Columbia, South Carolina. But like, I imagine you feel that, or maybe you don't.
It maybe earlier on.
Yeah.
Man, that's actually, Gene, you just opened up a remarkable door for this, because like, honestly, I hadn't thought about it.
I'm sorry if I screwed you up.
No, not at all. This is a very positive thing for what it's worth. Like, this is something that I need to recognize, because now it's like, I know I will never claim to know anything. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. But whatever is happening in the water and the sound waves coming out of my mouth and the
Mm-hmm.
the wavelengths that are my body as color and the movements they make sense to the meat sacks in the water,
Right.
then like something's working. Why change it at the moment? But the
Right.
great part about that is at the very beginning, Gene, I tell them, hey, look, first off, I need 15 seconds to fangirl over you because I've been
Yeah.
following you forever. And thank
Yeah.
you so much for trusting me. My God, you guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Can I have your autograph? Okay,
Yeah.
that's done. No, get to work. No,
Yeah, that's done. You'll never see that again.
honestly, yeah. But I'm it kind of like how you did with me when we first met. Open lines of like communication. Like, look, dog, let's chat it out. If something's happening to where like, Dan, this isn't working for me, let's figure this out together.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna work together.
Yep.
And if they are disappointed, disapproving, whatever, they have, honestly, and I've had it happen a couple times, they are not afraid to let me know. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's. How can I do better?
Right.
Nothing, Dan. You just suck. All right, that's fine. I mean, honestly,
Yeah,
I mean that
yeah.
that hasn't happened yet, from what I understand. But I
Yeah.
now have developed the mentality of like, I'm not responsible for their emotional responses and frustrations with something
Right.
specifically.
Right.
I'm not their switch. They are not my switch for
Yeah.
my responses. So that is our meeting ground, if you will. And it's been recognizing that, Gene, I think, has been the catalyst for why I've not really thought about.
That's cool.
I don't really fear their performances in the water.
Right.
Strange.
They own that.
I guess so.
Maybe that comes with the level of that person, you know?
Maybe.
You're confident that they know they own it. I don't know.
Honestly, I don't. There have been a couple times where I've screwed up. Like 2 years ago, I got a chance to work with the Irish represent the people representing Ireland at the games, and I assumed that their skill level was far below what it actually was, and it actually hindered some of their training time a little bit the first couple of days. And it took Max telling me like, "Hey Dan, like they're actually more advanced than you realize." Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Then let's develop something different. But it worked out really, really well. I was really thankful for that opportunity.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole at this point, Gene. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of stalling because I've lost my train of thought. Your turn.
I love you, man. That's awesome. Well, so let's shift gears a little bit. I mean,
all right, cool.
You tell me, last time we talked, you were I don't want to say beginning to, because you had experienced some therapeutic treatment.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
And you're digging deeper into that. So tell me about this. What do you want to? How do you say it? Like how do you define or title it? I'm going to say psilocybin. That's all I know.
Well, it's just the use of psychedelics for mental health, mental well-being. Yeah. It's nothing. Thankfully, it's coming wildly more accepted. It's nothing super crazy.
I think it is though.
Well, honestly, so for your generation and mine, it would be deemed crazy because I was raised during the DARE program.
Yeah.
Drugs are really expensive.
Right.
Joke. But also, like my dad, my uncle, my grandpa, my great grandpa were all cops.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and we were a small, like, back home, like everybody knew our family.
Yeah.
So like I didn't fuck around. My sister didn't fuck around.
Right.
We were pretty nose to the floor.
Yeah.
Didn't really I never drank in high school. The only time I drank was like I had to sip a champagne with my dad at a wedding. And he's like, "Tastes bad, doesn't it?" And he goes, "Yeah, it was awful."
Well, champagne.
Yes, it is.
There's lots of other flavors.
I'm pretty sure my dad did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But and by the way, I can tell that story because he won't listen to this. So yeah, I'm now an advocate for the use of marijuana, THC, and psychedelics for mental health because there is now legitimate documentation that the government stopped that from coming into play. Because I know it's still kind of a theory, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be solidified soon. that big pharma couldn't make any money off of it because you only have to do it a handful of times at the most, specifically psilocybin, MDMA, and ketamine.
Mm-hmm.
Those three specifically have remarkable results for improving mental health.
Mm.
And I'll just send you a couple of videos. You can, when you post this video, I encourage posting the links to them. There are a couple of TED Talks.
Okay.
One is from, and I can never, you have Google there on hand?
Yeah.
Can you Google M period, A period, P period, S period maps? I can never remember what it stands for, but it's where it's like the headquarters for the psychedelic studies.
Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies.
Yes, by what's the owner's name or the founder's name? It's in. I can't remember.
I don't know. It's a big website.
Yeah, one of the TED Talks is him. The most important one is him presenting it. He had been doing 30 years of underground research with MDMA, ketamine, and psilocybin.
But Rick Doblin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Dude, absolutely phenomenal. The work associated with it is so backwards, Gene, from how we were raised to perceive it. Like, look, man, straightforward. And I've opened up to my parents about it. Like, I haven't done it for several months now, but I've been microdosing acid for the past 3 years.
Well, you were just starting to kind of play with that last time we talked.
Remarkable difference.
Yeah.
Remarkable. I've been completely functional. I was half tempted to do it for this call, just to, and then like at the very end, ask you if you could tell. Gene, you would not be able to tell. It's right.
What does it do for you? Huh? What does it do for you?
Well, which one?
Let's say the microdosing. Like let's say you're gonna do that controlled level throughout the day, and it helps you get through your day. Like, what is it doing for you specifically?
So I've done acid and I've done LSD and psilocybin from a microdosing standpoint, and I'll share both with you. From the acid standpoint, like I'm just happy for like 12 to 14 hours. I'm smiling for no reason at all. I have that, when you feel really anxious and you feel like you're about to jump out of your skin.
Yeah.
I have that feeling all the time, but it's funny. It's funny. So it's just quite literally enjoying the day.
Right.
Enjoying what's happening. And then also like the visuals that come with it. It depends on, I don't mess around. I get it from a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not going to share who, but it is somebody who is a doctor.
Right.
The strands that I've gotten for acid specifically, the first one, I could see the ground breathing. And when I would look into a mirror, my hair would kind of wave like tentacles or like seaweed in the bottom of the ocean, a coral. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing ever.
Right.
When I would do a little more than a microdose, I could separate the colors in the sky and I would have no fear. There was a time that I did it in Florida, and I turned to my wife and I said, "Hey, can I go swim with that feeding frenzy out there? There's a bunch of dolphins feeding on fish about 200 to 300 yards out." She said, "Just don't go alone."
Yeah.
So I grabbed a boogie board, grabbed a former Army Ranger, and we went out almost 300 yards into the Gulf of Mexico and boogie boarded with the dolphins while they were eating fish. Probably not the safest thing to do.
Dolphins are fairly safe.
They are, but read later that during feeding frenzies, questionable.
Maybe not. Yeah.
But just the concept or just the idea of having no fear.
Okay.
And having pure confidence and just enjoying what's about to happen. Now, of course, people listen to this like, "Oh, what if it turns south?" Well, what if it did?
Yeah.
Like I made the decision to do that. If it was stupid, well, I fucked up. But it didn't end up being stupid. It's in the past. It can't be changed.
Well, people do far more stupid things when they're not dosing on anything.
Yeah.
So that's not a valid argument.
Like drinking.
Yeah.
Well, good on that rabbit hole later. But so with acid, it's just kind of I feel good. Gene, I can drive. I can coach. I can do my
Yeah.
homework, chores around the house. It's
Right.
like if you've ever taken Adderall or any type of amphetamine based thing,
Mm.
it's kind of feeling like that without the hyper focus and without the anxious drop
Right.
afterwards.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
you know when you take a pre-workout and then you just hit hard. Yeah,
Mhm.
that doesn't happen. Like you just kind of fall asleep.
Right.
And then the next day you're fucking exhausted because
Yeah.
you know your body does feel like it's been poisoned. By the way, if I'm cussing too much, please let me know.
Mm-mm.
That your body feels like it's been poisoned. So yeah, like I've experienced like a small degree of a hangover,
Yeah.
but honestly, you get more of a hangover sensation with like Delta 8 gummies or
Mm.
like actual edibles.
Now,
The next
my
day.
son, my youngest son, had ADHD, and
Mhm.
he hasn't taken his his ADHD medicine, which we
Mhm.
all know is what you're describing there, but
Yeah.
in several years. But he used to talk about that hard, like it would just be over, at some
Yeah.
point, and he's like, blah, like just a big drop, and then you have to wait another 12 hours to do the next one,
Yeah.
and it was just like it wasn't like this constant thing. It was just like hard start, hard stop. And
Even with the extended
hated that.
release.
He
Yeah,
hated
it
it.
hurts. You're
Yeah.
never hungry. You're always thirsty, but you don't
Yeah.
want to drink water. I
Yep.
mean, thankfully, there's newer stuff out there that's a little safer. There's Vyvanse, and then there's a newer one that came out. Both of them are non-amphetamine
So
based.
he did Vyvanse. That's the one he
Oh,
did.
really?
And it was the same. Yeah.
Really?
For him.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
And I understand that, things are different for everyone.
Yeah.
But
That's a rare case. He may have been allergic to something in the pill.
it's interesting that you bring that up though, that that's that hard stop.
Mm-hmm.
Which I could imagine that'd be something you'd have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially if
thankfully,
you
like with microdosing, like it just kind of dissipates, and then you
Mm.
fall asleep.
So what
There have
about
been
Go ahead. No, I interrupted you.
the cool part is like if I do it too late in the day
Mm-hmm.
and I get like an hour of sleep, I feel fine the next day and the day after. It's like I didn't even miss sleep. It's like
Hmm.
so what the psychedelic stuff does. I'm going to use it as a metaphor, but the data showcases that it moves our lens of perception from frontal to or from anterior to posterior, so the back of our head. So I kind of view that as like, okay, my sight of my being is now shifted to where I can look from the back forward, so I can see the problems that are occurring, and I can metaphorically, in my mind, literally, but maybe to everyone else, metaphorically, fix those synaptic errors. So like I can manually fix my brain, and the way I've been doing that. Which, by the way, by saying my brain is also saying I, because the brain's the only organ to name itself. Different conversation. Gene, you're about to go on a trip. You ready?
Yeah.
I've established for me an ability to jump timelines with half of my being and remain on the current one with the other half. Example, there have been times in the past where Rachel's had a really bad day, and it's not menstrual related or anything, but it is like, oh my God, is she on her period? Like, what the hell? No, the reality is, Dan, you just sucked, and you didn't. And I'm not playing the martyr here. I'm speaking genuinely, man. Like, I have not been a very good husband over the years, and every month, once or twice a month, she would rip into me hard,
Right.
like basically make me feel like I'm the worst human being to possibly be on this face of the planet. As that started happening a bit more after I was started microdosing, Gene, I could go back in time, see the fight that was occurring, or see the action I was doing. Like, oh, she's right.
Yeah.
I did fuck up there. Now I know what not to do.
Okay.
As opposed to like doing like, well, I'm a man. I'm not gonna. You're just a crazy bitch. No, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not cool. That's my wife.
But do you retain it enough to then actually act on the thing that you learned?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That is permanent.
Okay.
So to give you an example, it's been at least 5, almost 6 months now since one of those anger explosions have happened to me.
Right.
She has not. She's actually believing me that I'm putting forth the effort to change. So, oh shoot, what's his name? There's a gentleman that wrote a book and gives a lot of presentations on positive psychology. And there's the Good Life the happy life, and the meaningful life. And
Okay.
it's kind of a stepping stone. The good life is like a beginning of recognition. It's kind of like recognizing your shadow archetype, as Carl Jung would say. And then the happy life is establishing your character strengths and identifying your character strengths. The meaningful life is putting forward your character strengths towards a being, an entity, whatever, however you want to define that, or using a word that's going to be close to that. And then how can you refurbish, remanufacture your character strengths for that thing that your current life's meaning is. So example, my wife is my life. I love my kids.
Yeah.
But my wife is with me till she dies or I die.
Yeah.
Period. Like, that's not going to change. So she's the most important person to me. Therefore, that is my meaning in life. I need to put forth the effort, and I don't give a fuck who disagrees with me. I need to put forth the effort and take it very seriously to fix the wrongs I've done, to help her with the shitstorm that she has internally. That's my meaningful life. That's my purpose right now. Once that's established, I'm going to keep rolling on, and I can maintain that track while adding other pieces to it. It's a cool thing.
That's very cool.
And honestly, microdosing the acid started that. Beginning to microdose psilocybin mushrooms finalized it. That part's fun. And when I say fun, I'm being quite facetious.
So your claim, and you're the one that has to say it's true or not, is that the microdosing, the psilocybin has helped you understand that purpose, and it's helping you maintain it. And the lessons you're learning from it are permanent.
Yeah, they're not going away. Now I have to recognize what I'm doing. I have to recognize if it is the wrong thing to do, the right thing to do, that old shtick. Sure. And if it's wrong, gets pissed away. But no, that's not true. It doesn't get pissed away. It stays, but it's not like oh man, I can't believe I did that. It stays like your brain at 2 a.m. Hey, remember that time when you flashed your dick in class? No, like that I didn't actually do that.
It's not gonna help you learn that.
Yeah. But like your faults, your failures, Gene. It's been recently why I advocate what I said earlier, that failing is the best thing you can do. I can confidently tell you the primary catalyst for that has been this microdosing. Like, my God, I have failed so much in my life. Time to grow from it, and time to live with it and have my failure come with me. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I'm boring everyone at this point.
It absolutely makes sense. I'm curious what else you're doing with it. I mean, that's your personal stuff, but how, are you taking that into the professional realm at all? I mean, is it part of your continuing studies? What are you doing?
That's the goal. Like I said earlier, like doing this, I put my doctorate on hold. My doctorate was going to be in health and human performance. Well, honestly, man, I could, now that I'm integrated at a university or an institution, like I can do that shit whenever I want. It just so happens that Kennesaw State University has one of the very few people in the nation who put out CrossFit related research. It ranges from physical performance, mental state, etc. So put all that shit on pause to pursue this positive psychology and athletic leadership, which is, again, shorthand for sports psychology. They just get called that because it's in the education department. I may not open my own practice, like of psychiatry or whatnot, but I need to be heavily involved in the research associated with how can we help people. This quarantine fucked up the generation below us so bad.
It really did.
So your son's generation got absolutely bent over.
Yeah, his whole senior year was not spent in school until like the last 2 months of it or whatever.
How do you expect a kid to be able to function, quote unquote, normally when their social construct is completely stripped from them? It's like, that's why, I don't know if you've noticed with kids, like since then, non-competitive, afraid to do stuff, fear of losing anything.
Yeah.
Because it was stolen from them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go down a road of conspiracy of like how COVID started and this and the other.
Yeah, the political aspect of it doesn't matter. Stupid. We still have to deal with it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have also been pushed in, Gene, it's going to get real dark for a second. Another additional piece is as to why I'm now deviating on this route is because I need to find something to help my kids. My oldest daughter, she's going to be 9 next month.
Mm-hmm.
And in June of last year, she tried to take her own life in front of all of us.
Mm.
I didn't even know that an 8-year-old at that time would even know what it meant or how to do that. But she got really overwhelmed. And like we knew between both of our family backgrounds that she was one, if not all three of them, were going to develop something. Anxiety, depression, autism, whatever. We just weren't ready for it yet. But this was the final nail in the coffin. Like, Dan, get your shit together because your 8-year-old daughter just tried to plunge a knife in her chest in front of you. It was really fucked up. I would not recommend anyone, even my worst enemy, to live through that. But I'm very thankful that it occurred because it's an epic failure as a father for your. Well, and I say that because a lot of the stuff, when she eventually started feeling more and more comfortable to talk, Daddy, I remember how you spoke to me this way, and it made me really hate myself. And so that opened up opportunities. Like, okay, sweetie, I'm going to work on that big time. And we are also going to practice Daddy, you are not responsible for Daddy's emotions. I am not fully responsible for your emotions. Now, that's a shitty way to say that. You get the idea.
It makes sense, man.
We're here to help our kids cope with that shit, not make it worse. And thankfully now, I can tell you that girl has it down pat. Super proud of her the other day.
Awesome.
My wife and I got into a little scuffle verbally, and she goes, "Mommy and Daddy, please stop." Stone cold Steve Austin, man. And we made a vow. If the kids ever said that, we'd stop. And we did. It was the first time she ever did that. Her voice was found. It helped her a lot yesterday.
That's awesome.
When she was having a rough day. And also, she flipped the kid off in class one day. That was fantastic because the kid was trying to stop her from doing her work. So she was standing up for herself. But sorry, I deviated, man. Sorry.
No. I that's incredible that you know the way you're looking at it. I think a lot of people just fall apart from it.
Yeah, we were close. I'm not going to lie to you.
Absolutely.
Gene, I can't even describe the amount of pain that was felt that night by my wife and me.
Yeah.
I can't even speak for my wife, the amount of pain.
Of course.
That blew it. Yeah, that is another primary reason as to why I paused the doctorate and I'm shifting into the psychology area, because that I believe that to be a big calling as a piece of the meaningful life of Dan. And the psychedelics early on they definitely started that journey. I didn't recognize that at the time. I'm not going to say that they're the reason. Gene, you know, just like everyone, there's no such thing as a magic drug or pill or powder or whatever.
Right.
But there are things that can help. And government finally funded psilocybin-assisted therapy for veterans in Texas. First time in 50 years that the government funded anything illicitly related that can actually work. You watched the docuseries on Netflix, right?
I haven't yet. I do listen to I've listened to several. I'm an expert. I've listened to podcasts. I mean, I've listened to Rogan. I've listened to Lex Friedman. I've listened to a couple other
Andrew Huberman.
I listen to him all the time. He's talked about it a lot. There's
good.
several ones. So I'm familiar with it. And when you said that, the government recently just kind of opened that up for veterans, I'm aware of that. I think that's incredible. I know those guys and gals really need something.
It'll definitely lessen the onset of a sudden soldier death syndrome, meaning suicide.
Yeah.
Because that's rough. And it sucks, man, that the government was able to manipulate that so quickly. because they halted it in the 50s, man. In the 50s, I can't remember his name, but it was a Swedish psychiatrist that was doing the research, and it's in this you got to watch this documentary.
What's the name of it?
How to Change Your Mind.
How to Change Your Mind.
It's basically his book in 6 episodes in 6 hours. But it's like it's documented people. There's different variations: OCD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, sociopath, psychopath, etc. And you're gonna love it personally. And I encourage whoever listens to this also to please go watch it.
Awesome. I'll link that up for sure.
It'll completely alter their mind. And I'll send you those YouTube links as well.
Sweet.
The TED Talks, one's 16 minutes, the other one's 28 minutes.
Yeah, TED Talks are quick.
The 28-minute one.
You have time to watch TED Talks.
Honestly, for these ones, you do. Because it doesn't just say, like, hey, take these drugs. It's like, hey, you can be better. And this could possibly help in a way. What's your time crunch, man? I know we've been going for an hour.
We usually go about an hour.
I don't want to distract you from, as I know you got other shit going on.
No, today. You're good. I appreciate it.
What else would you like to know?
Oh, you're always open, man, and I appreciate it. I think, the coaching talk, the psychedelics talk, that's always interesting to me, because it's always something that it's like someone else, like I see them through the lens of the screen or whatever, but I know you, and I know, I know you personally, so it's always better to get that perspective from someone I believe, than just
absolutely true.
A third-party podcast or a news program or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm really glad you said that, because somebody said something similar to that, and in my mind I was like, oh, it's like looking at GoFundMe's for different people. It's like you don't realize that you need the GoFundMe until your house is destroyed by a tornado.
Right.
It's like, oh, Sally, Jesse, and Billy Bob, their kid is dying of cancer. They need to GoFundMe. Man, that's sad.
Yeah.
Top 10 things that could make you attractive.
That's
you won't
right.
believe number 3.
Right.
I'm gonna click on that.
That's right.
All right. So it's the personal connection is fantastic, and I genuinely appreciate your trust and willingness in me to like not bullshit you. Like if you need any empirical data at all, like I'll throw a shit ton of stuff.
I know you will.
If people want to read 17 to 38 page documents on this stuff, I'll send them your way. Or 77 page manual on it all.
And so I know you did all, like before you tried it personally, I know you went and did all that stuff,
Oh, absolutely, man. And like, there's no sense. Actually, I don't really know how to get people to grasp it, but it's stupid. Even taking supplements, you got to just research it.
Yeah.
YouTube University is very easy. Find a good channel. Educate yourself.
Well, you mentioned supplements. It is amazing to me that how many people I coach that are like, hey, I'm going to take this protein. And I'm like, did you read the label? And they're like, no,
7,000 things, man.
I just bought it from Walmart or whatever. And you're like, dude, at least read the label before you put it in your body for the next 6 months,
It doesn't even have protein, man. This is just cellulose.
I know. It's you're drinking chocolate milk, brother. Like, come on, man.
Which is one of the best things you can drink post-workout.
That's what I tell people. Just drink some chocolate milk. Well, I think that's a good point. Point to stop. I appreciate your time, man.
There's no problem.
I will not let a year go by before I harass you again.
Honestly, I'm going to pose a challenge if you're willing. I think we need to do a part 1 and part 2.
Okay.
Like psychedelic talk part 1, part 2.
Okay.
If you want, because I don't know what your crowd fully is. There is a lot of stuff where this can, once you get it away from not away from it, it's always gonna be there, but like the scientific lecturing jargon, it does. There's a lot of warrior mindset stuff, a lot of samurai shit, a lot of Eastern culture.
I'm just happy that you can summarize what I'm into as samurai shit. I dig it.
That was kind of an asshole thing. I'm sorry.
I'll take it. No, I'll take it.
I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I want a katana so bad. I mean, I'm over here looking at a bunch of Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z. I just recently, that's too long of a conversation. We should do a part 2 if you're open to it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely. Can we talk off air about it?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
Okay. Love you, buddy.
Well, thank you. All right, man.